Lesson 3. Build your raw customer problem inventory. A problem inventory is a raw, structured list of every specific problem your customers name. It is not a summary. It is the evidence itself. Without this inventory, you are building your offer on a foundation of opinion. This lesson requires you to have conducted your initial interviews using the plan from Lesson 2. In this episode, you will conduct your interviews, transcribe raw problems verbatim, tag each problem with a source, and start categorizing them into themes. Let's build the evidence base. A problem inventory is a raw, structured list of every specific problem your customers name. It is not a summary. It is the evidence itself. Without this inventory, you are building your offer on a foundation of opinion. The raw problem inventory is the core of evidence-based marketing. It is created by listening to customers and recording exactly what they say. You will categorize these raw problems into themes, note their frequency, and tag them with quotes. The inventory is not a one-off exercise. It is a living document that you will reference in every subsequent lesson. This lesson teaches you how to collect the data and how to structure it so it becomes usable. First, record customer problems in their own words. Do not translate. Their phrasing is the data. Second, a single customer interview can yield a dozen distinct problems. You are looking for volume and specificity. Third, the raw inventory is not a summary. It is the evidence itself. You will summarize later. Fourth, tag each problem with the source so you can verify the evidence. And finally, the quality of your inventory determines the quality of everything that follows. This is the bedrock. You have two tools for this lesson. First, the problem inventory document. This is a structured document with columns for the customer quote, the problem expressed, the source, and a preliminary category. It is the master record of evidence from your research. Second, the thematic categorization method. This is a process for grouping raw problems into themes. It is used to identify patterns in your data and prioritize the most common or most expensive problems. The raw problem inventory is the heart of this workbook. It is the thing you will reference in every later lesson. To build it, you must do the work of talking to customers. You must ask the questions you designed in Lesson 2 and record their answers exactly as they give them. Do not summarize. Do not interpret. Record their exact words. The first draft of your inventory will be messy. You will have dozens of problems, some related, some not. That is the point. The mess is the raw material. This lesson will teach you to capture that raw material and structure it so you can use it. The inventory you build here is the fuel for lessons 4 through 9. Everything you build later, your pain hierarchy, your offer map, your objection map, comes from this inventory. Do not rush this lesson. The quality of your final outputs depends on the depth of your raw evidence. The output for this lesson is your raw problem inventory. Let's build that inventory. First, conduct your research interviews. Execute the research plan from Lesson 2. Conduct 5 to 10 interviews with customers or prospects. Record the audio. Take notes. Focus on asking about past behavior, not opinions. Listen more than you talk. For example, your notes might say, Interview number 1. Customer A said, I spent $5,000 on Facebook ads and got 0 sales. I noted, pain point, wasted ad spend. Next, transcribe raw problems verbatim. Go through your notes and transcripts. For every problem a customer mentions, write it down in their exact words. Do not translate. Do not summarize. Write exactly what they said. For example, Customer A, I spent $5,000 on Facebook ads and got 0 sales. I don't know what went wrong. Now, tag each problem with source and date. For every problem, note the customer name, date of the conversation, and any relevant context. This creates an audit trail for your evidence. For example, Customer A, interview on January 15, 2026. Context, B2B SaaS founder, 2 years in business. Finally, do a preliminary categorization. Group similar problems together. Do not worry about perfect categories at this stage. You are just looking for patterns. For example, category, acquisition issues. Problems, wasted ad spend, low conversion rates, poor targeting. Pause the video now and complete these 4 steps for your interviews. Here is your to-do list. First, conduct 5 to 10 customer interviews using your research plan. Then, transcribe every raw problem in the customer's own words. Next, tag each problem with the source and date for reference. Then, Group problems into preliminary categories based on themes. And finally, complete the exercise and reflection to finalize your inventory. Your completed inventory is the evidence base for the rest of the workbook. It contains the raw material you will prioritize in Lesson 4 and translate in Lesson 7. Let's look at the Typeform case. Typeform was losing customers to legacy survey tools. They believed the problem was price. Their early surveys showed price was a concern. But when they listened to real customer interviews, they heard a different story. Customers were not leaving for cheaper options. They were leaving because the interface was boring and the data was unusable. What they did was shift their product focus from data collection to user engagement. They built a visual, interactive interface. The result was not just a product feature, it was a category shift. They discovered the real problem was engagement, not cost. The outcome was increased customer retention, significant product differentiation, and market share growth. Now apply this to your practice. First, identify. Typeform's initial data was wrong because they asked the wrong question. Have you ever collected data that confirmed your bias, but did not reveal the true problem? Name the situation and what you heard. Second, what to do. Review your raw problem inventory. Identify at least one problem that a customer mentioned that you had not predicted. What did you learn from this unexpected insight? What does it change about your understanding of your market? Third, the outcome. If you acted on the most unexpected problem in your inventory, what specific part of your offer would need to change? Pause and write your answers. A few tips for this lesson. The most common shortcut is to summarize your findings instead of transcribing them. This happens because it feels more efficient. But summaries lose nuance. The raw words are the data. Real completion looks like a messy document with a dozen or more raw problem statements. If your inventory is neat and short, you did not interview deeply enough. The inventory you build here is your evidence base. Every later lesson depends on it. And the trap is asking for opinions instead of facts. Pause the video now and open your workbook to the Lesson 3 worksheet. In the first section 4, problem number 1, write the customer's exact words. Then, note the source and date. Then, add a preliminary category. Do the same for all the problems you identified. This is your master list of evidence. The key is to use the customer's exact words. Summaries will be less useful later. When you build your pain hierarchy in the next lesson, you will draw from this list. Track your progress. Check interviews completed when you have conducted at least 5 interviews. Check raw problems transcribed when every problem is recorded in the customer's own words. Check problems tagged by source when every problem has a source and date. And check preliminary categories defined when problems are grouped into at least 3 to 5 themes. You have built a raw problem inventory. This document is the foundation for every subsequent lesson. In Lesson 4, you will prioritize these problems. This lesson's output is your raw problem inventory. Use the calculator to check the depth of your inventory. First, count the total number of raw problem entries. The benchmark is at least 20. Second, count the number of unique customers you interviewed. The benchmark is at least 5. Third, calculate the average number of problems per customer by dividing the total problems by the number of customers. The benchmark is 4 or more. Count your entries. If your total is below 20, you likely need to interview more customers or dig deeper into the conversations you already have. For this exercise, review your problem inventory and find one problem you did not predict. Write it down. Now ask yourself, what does this new insight reveal about your market that you were missing? What would you build differently if this unexpected problem is more urgent than the one you originally assumed? For reflection, review your raw inventory. Is there a problem you are tempted to ignore because it does not fit your product? Name it. What would it cost you if this problem turns out to be your market's primary driver? What are you risking by not addressing it? For research, your preliminary categories are just the start. Look up thematic analysis for a structured approach to categorizing qualitative data. Consider using a tool like Miro or a simple spreadsheet to group your problems visually. For action, pick the most surprising problem in your inventory. This week, conduct one additional interview specifically to explore this problem. Ask, how much is this costing you? And what have you tried to do about it? This is your homework. Next time, we take your raw inventory and turn it into a prioritized list based on urgency.